2019 is halfway over, and frankly, I haven't had that much fun with video games thus far, nor with YouTube for that matter. And I know that's probably something I shouldn't say, and typically nobody would say it, but I have a real hard time putting on any sort of facade or faking anything, and I have to be honest with you. I know nobody likes to be bummed out, and perhaps it's just the old man inside of me talking, but I might feel like the best days of video games and YouTube are in the past. Have no fear though, this video is not about sadness, tears, and being bummed. It's about the best games of 2019 thus far, because luckily there were some really cool ones, and I did have some fun with at least all of these games. I've ordered this list in no particular way, except that there are two categories. The first half will be games that I absolutely adored and completed, which, if you know me, is kind of a rarity. The second half will be games that I really enjoyed, but maybe didn't reach their full potential. Perhaps they never will, and I didn't beat them. But they're still really fun, and I want to share them with you. Make sure to let me know in the comments down below which games of 2019 you have loved most thus far, because guys, even though sometimes things suck, and E3 was a bummer for me, there still are good things out there, and focusing on that is the only way to walk forward, I feel. So walk forward we will with my first pick. And it's probably my favorite game of the year thus far. That's SteamWorld Quest from Image & Form Games. This game blew me away. It's a simple idea, but maybe the boldest that group has attempted thus far. It's a card battler with light RPG elements and charming as heck characters and art. It's the best art they've done, and I think the best system they've put in place. The gameplay there is so freaking fun. I played this one exclusively in handheld mode, which has become my new shtick for Switch. I used to be a dock guy, and now I'm a handheld guy, which is kind of cool. I even played this game in the bathtub. I wasn't feeling so well during the release, but I played it in a marathon way, which is rare for me. And it's because it's so much fun. Acquiring the new characters is great. I didn't know that was going to happen. It seemed like a small scale game with a small scale roster, but it's pretty beefy. And I love assembling the cards. Those are your attacks, and you'll acquire new ones as you explore around these small maps. And then you have to make the tough decision of which attacks do I want? Which ones sound cool? Which ones are actually effective? Which characters do I love and want to have out there? But which characters are actually the most efficient and pair the best together? Even attacks that build off of each other. Really smart systems, really fun ways to craft an incredible lineup of cards that do massive damage in a satisfying way. The story, it's cute to me. I know not everybody loved it, and I felt like the length was just perfect for the price point. This one is one of the best Switch games, I think. It didn't do so well on that platform. Luckily, it's getting a second life on PC, so go grab it if you can. I think you're going to love it, and I cannot wait to see what Image & Form does next. I will take us now to another Switch indie that was phenomenal. Katana Zero rocked my early 2019, or I guess mid-early 2019. It is so intense. So freaking intense. The guys over there, or I guess the guy, because it's made by one dude over 6 years, have crafted something that is remarkably just affecting for a pixel art game. It has similarities with stuff like Hotline Miami in a gameplay way, and it has similarities with Celeste in a storytelling way. I love the gameplay so much here because you have to be perfect. I love being challenged, and I love going in knowing I've got to get better, perfect it, and then feel that satisfaction. It's so satisfying to nail a level in Katana Zero, especially towards the end when you're grabbing a bottle, deflecting a bullet, rolling through an enemy, popping a grenade, and then slicing and dicing to get out of that room. It's really an incomparable feeling. I love it so much. There's supposed to be DLC and new stuff. Can't wait to dive back in. Easy price point. Maybe the story lost me at the end. It actually definitely did, but it has such a good hook early on. The mystery and intrigue there are intense as the gore. But it gets a little wonky towards its final steps, but that's okay because the gameplay ramps up and the music is awesome. From there, let's go to one more Switch indie, Ape Out. That's a really cool game, and in fact, it's a more fun Hotline Miami for me. It's basically if Donkey Kong got roided out and got pissed off that Nintendo wasn't making any more 3D DK games, which they really should do, especially since nothing I wanted happened at the Nintendo conference at E3 this year. Maybe you could make Pikmin and a new Donkey Kong. That would be really nice. But here you get to play as a really angry ape, tearing through your opposition in very simplistic minimalist styled levels, but really tough levels. I think I like this one more than Hotline Miami because it doesn't require as much pure perfection as it does forward movement. You gotta always be progressing. You will die, you will go back. The checkpoints are usually good, occasionally frustrating, but it's all about that momentum, that rhythm. And it's because the music is related to your movements that it also is so much fun. You get in this nice vibe, this nice roll. You don't ever actually roll per se, but you're rolling through the military soldiers and the guards and the security that you're fighting, and there's even some cool little extras once you beat the game. Again, a very small team, I think made by a guy named Gabe, so any game by Gabe, I'm gonna give it a go, and I'm glad I did with this one. Ape Out feels perfect on Switch handheld. I enjoyed all of these handheld, and you gotta get it. It's really cool. It's a small experience, but one that you will cherish. Let's go to something a lot bigger for my fourth pick. That is going to be Resident Evil 2 Remake, a game I thought I'd hate. At E3 last year, I didn't even go in the haunted house. I hate scary stuff. But I sat down and I played the game, and I didn't like it. I said, why are they doing remakes? I want new stuff. I didn't understand why this was getting nominations for Game of Show, and I think it actually ended up winning a lot of them. But now I understand. Resident Evil 2 Remake was so much fun because it harkens back to what I love about games. Directed linear experiences that focus on gameplay. It's intense, it's awesome, it's a little bit spooky. The creepy police station, the environments are memorable. Mr. X is crazy, but I love being chased by him. The gunplay is great, inventory management is fun, and the lickers are way too scary, but it's an awesome experience. It is just the right length, I feel. I didn't go back and dive into the second playthroughs or the other character, but I loved what I did play, and my experience is really cool. There's set pieces, big moments. The boss fights don't hit it for me, but I love lurking through, taking some quality shots to make sure that you get those zombies that don't pop unless you get them right there, and then making your way into the new area, which were more diverse than I was expecting. And all in all, just a much better game than I was expecting. The DLC little episodes were also pretty fun, and I don't want more remakes, but if they're done as good as RE2, maybe it will be okay. Plus, the game's absolutely gorgeous. My fifth pick, final one in this category, is shockingly Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Guys, I didn't even know that there were 3 Crash racing games. I forgot that there were 3 different Crash Bandicoot racing games, but thank goodness there were because they've compiled them all here in a really fun, awesome package that is super difficult. I think that's what I like most about the game, ironically, and it's been something that has turned many players off from this title. But for me, as someone who's mastered Mario Kart, I can go in and beat all my friends, and I can easily beat the AI. I like that I'm really challenged here. The gameplay is strong enough that it's fun on its own, but then having to work so hard to defeat Komodo Joe, that's something I love. The adventure mode is pretty cool. Reminds me of Diddy Kong Racing, obviously also reminds me of CTR, but alas, it's fun to walk around or drive around, I guess, in these environments, take on the stages, have to win them all in order to open the boss door, and then have a one-on-one race against someone that has infinite items. It could be considered frustrating. The enemies definitely do spin out and then continue at a much faster rate than you or your human players are able to continue, but I like it for that, and having to redo the races over and over and over again is enjoyable for me. I think it's a brilliant visual game as well, more so on PS4, but it still looks good enough on Switch, and at $40, I love this package. It's got online, it's got the adventure mode, 31 tracks from all 3 games, characters from all 3 games. It's super, super awesome, and probably the thing outside of SteamWorld Quest that I just genuinely love the most. Kick back on the couch, switch in handheld mode, enjoy some CTR Nitro Fueled. It is awesome. Also, for whatever reason, I'm always Neo Cortex. I hated him in Crash Bandicoot. I hated him in the Insane Trilogy, but I love being him in this game. Maybe it speaks to some strange shift that's happening internally, but we aren't going to go there in this video. Let's go to the second half of my list, which are games that I didn't finish, but I still had a lot of fun with, and I still think are enjoyable 2019 experiences. This part of the list was a little bit harder to compile, a little bit harder to make, and in general it reminded me that I need to play games much more for fun outside of this video making context because I've lost a little bit of that love. And part of it is they're making games homogenized open world nonsense and not as much the single player linear narratives that I love, but I'm going to take part of the responsibility and say, darn it, I need to play more games for fun. I've been passionate about this hobby since I was 4 years old, and somewhere along the way, it's gotten a little bit muddled. So stuff like Plague Tale Innocence isn't even on this list because I haven't had the time, but I know it probably would be one that I'd really enjoy. Alas, here's what I've got for you. We're going to start off with what is the saddest game in this category, because it should be in the other category. Probably should be at the top of the other category, but it just isn't. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, or Sekiro, if you want to be very accurate, is my least favorite From Software title. I don't know, guys. I really tried. You know I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. Bloodborne is awesome. I can't wait for Elden Sign. I thought this was going to be the second coming for me. I had so much fun with Dark Souls 2, even 3, Bloodborne. Those are my kind of game. They evolved into my kind of game after being horrible and frustrated at the beginning. I always feel like I'm playing Sekiro wrong, and I hate that feeling. It is a good game. I know some people prefer the combat there to any other From title. I don't. I hate that I feel like I'm doing it wrong constantly, and I feel like when I win, it's by mistake. It's by happenstance. It's by good luck or some just, hey, I managed to press the buttons in the right way. I don't feel like I'm learning, nor do I feel like I am successful. And that stinks. I think it's a very pretty game, although I prefer the variety that Dark Souls and Bloodborne had, and I think I also prefer their settings too. They added verticality and movement, which is great, and in theory it should be much more fun, but I think I just like hunkering down, foe against me, and circle strafing around, waiting for the moment to attack, reading their patterns, and not having to go ham on them offensively and aggressively. I think the defensive style of Dark Souls, the more you attack, I attack, be patient, just works better for my brain and works better for what I like gameplay-wise, because Sekiro was my most anticipated title of the year, and in no way will it win Game of the Year. I'll probably go back and finish it at some point. It just wasn't as fun as I wanted, and that really is sad to say. But let's go to another title that is really fun. I just haven't played a ton of it, and that's Mortal Kombat 11. Yes, it's very gory. It's incredibly intense. It is what Katana Zero is for pixel games for modern era visuals, and it will blow you away with how bloody it gets. But that's the game they wanted to make, and it may have given some of their staff nightmares, but it ends up creating a super fun game. I think Mortal Kombat is a fantastic fighter. I love the roster. It's really awesome, especially playing locally. I'm not good enough to win online, but I did enjoy the story mode. Didn't finish it just because I got bored, not because it's not good enough. I like it as a fighter. I just will never be the person that gets super invested, learns all the movesets, and becomes an expert. I play them more casually, and Mortal Kombat 11 is possibly the best thing that NetherRealm has done in my eyes. And it's on Switch, which I love. And it's a great port on Switch, which I love. And it came out day and date on Switch, which many more games need to do. There needs to be many more third-party games in general, but I've got a whole channel to talk about that on. Let's go to Days Gone, a Sony exclusive. Not one of their best, but still a really good time. I liked it much more than most people. I didn't beat it, but what I did play was really enjoyable. And frankly, I like just moseying around, grabbing some gas, bringing it back to my bike, and continuing. That sounds like tedium, and it should be something that would bore me, slow the pace down, but I liked it. It added to the immersion, and I think I'm just so thirsty for games that are immersive and games that have a pretty art style or graphic style with a third-person cool character and a good narrative and set pieces, and they're very designed, and there's cool gameplay, crafting, all that stuff that you guys know I like. Days Gone has it, and maybe it gets a little bit worn out towards the end, as I've heard, but I don't know. I'll have to get there at some point. I really do want to put more time in here because I like the mechanics and I like the overall world. I think Sony, it's hard for any company to come close to what Sony does with their exclusives, even on the lower end, definitely not on the higher end. We're talking about Last of Us 2, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima coming out soon, and what company can compete with that? It is a very small list, so I still think Days Gone was quality. It's gone on sale very quickly, probably worth picking up. This one hurts my heart. Anthem was supposed to be my game. I still think that the way you go from walking to engagement, and by that I mean flight, fight, supers, is one of the best, most expertly crafted, hands on the controller feeling moments you'll ever have in gaming. That flight is like Iron Man, but better. Everything else around, not so much. It promised to be BioWare's big, huge Destiny-alike epic, and I thought I would be looting and shooting for months. I ended up looting and shooting for like a week. I don't know if I'll ever get into a game as deep as I want, but I thought this was a good chance, and it ended up just being a little bit of fun at the beginning. The game has kind of been a disaster. It's made by good people, it's promoted by good people, but they've got their work cut out for them if they want to try and have a second coming. Maybe they can. A second season, a second year, perhaps they can rework the systems, add content, and make it great again. But right now, it's a little bit rough. They have really adjusted what they were going to do for that game, and rightfully so. It's probably bleeding money, which I think would hurt. Pulling dollar bills would probably really suck, and I'm sure it really sucks for them. So I feel bad, but I also have to be honest, and Anthem just didn't turn out to be what I thought it would be. It's got that great first moment and flying around feels incredible. After that, it's kind of boring, but good enough to be here, at least by 2019 standards, which I feel is such a light year. And the second half of the year got Gears, Control, a lot of Nintendo stuff. Game of the year is going to be weird this year. I don't know that anything will stand out super obviously, but we'll get there. Last on my list is a combo of games, a 2-pack, and I feel like it's fair to make this a 2-pack because they're both ports, and I always feel weird about picking ports for best of lists because they've been out before, and I've probably talked about them before. Slay the Spire and Cuphead, though, are awesome on Switch and awesome in handheld. I love Slay the Spire. Give me a card game that's done well, add some roguelike elements, and I am hooked. This one definitely does that. It's the best on Switch, taking it with me. I held off on playing too much of the PC version because I was waiting for the Switch version. It took a long time. I painfully would check their Twitter all the time. It was never releasing, never releasing. Finally, it did, and it made my plane flight so much better. I take a lot of those, so this is the game that keeps me occupied while I travel from side to side of this country. Cuphead is also a brilliant title that I remembered how fun that game is and how great that art style is. I know they've got DLC coming. I was hoping they'd talk about maybe their next project. Didn't occur at E3, but I will be there for the DLC. The bosses are nasty, but also so charming. You gotta love them, even as they punish you over and over again. It's the perfect fit for Switch, and I hope that it leads to more from that Microsoft-Nintendo partnership that has become more and more intriguing as time has gone on. I hope that 2019 becomes much more intriguing because this list was harder to make than it should be, and I hope I just have more fun. I'm gonna try, and it's been a bummer, but you gotta bust out of that, and I will do that because I haven't been making videos since I've been bummed out, and you can't do that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. So I will find more games that I enjoy and more games that we can enjoy together. You can count on that. Let me know what your favorites of 2019 thus far have been. Hope you enjoyed my list. Hope you're doing well. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. SteamWorld Quest is probably the cream of this crop for me, but all those top 5 are easily recommendable, and there's fun to have in that bottom 5 as well. But until next time, everybody, thanks again. Drink so much, all. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you all